So I'm Priya Patil. I'm the founder of That Gypsy, which is an accessory brand, and I'm also a celebrity and a space stylist. And I graduated in 2000. I remember at the end of any fashion show, any college show, every student is looking for that graduate fashion show. And I made my collection. I put my collection on that graduating fashion show, and I took 35,000 rupees and I put it in a bank account. And I was like, one day I'm gonna start my line. And at the end of at the end of our college career in 2000, I joined through the college placements. I had my first job, and it was a 9 to 5 job. And I joined this fashion house, which was predominantly a menswear. It was a men's pet store, and I entered that with all excitement. And I started a women's wear line in this menswear store. And the first month was exciting. The second month was exciting. By the end of the third month, I was bored and I wanted to leave. And then our faculty at that point was Mrs. Rebecca Phillip, and I remember her voice in my head. And she had told all of us, she's saying, none of you all are going to quit at least for 1 year. You're going to stick it out in the first job that you all do, when you get out of college and do. And so I remember having my resignation letter for 9 months in my bag. And I did that job successfully for 1 year. And at the end of the 9th month, I was ready to leave, and I quit that job. And I realized that 9 to 5, there was not, my friends are great at it, but that's something that I couldn't see myself doing, And so I took my 35,000 rupees that I saved up, and I decided to design a collection of scarves. And remember, before doing my collection of scarves, I got my labels done, Priya Patil, and I was so excited about getting my labels done. And my friends were like, you don't even have your collection ready. I was like, yeah, but I'm a designer and the label is more important. And so I made my label. I made a collection of about 10 scarves, and I did some freelance projects, and I saved up some money to get an airline ticket to New York. And so I got on that plane, I went to New York to visit my sister, and I decided my dream was to have my collection in the top fashion stores in New York. And I remember going there, and to get in any of the fashion stores in New York, you have to enter these exhibitions and these fairs, and they cost a lot of money. And so at that point, I didn't have a lot of money, and so I dressed up like a fashionista. I walked up Fifth Avenue, I went to Soho, I went to Upper West Side. I'd enter these fashion boutiques, the smaller fashion boutiques, but they're very famous, and they have a few stores across New York City. And so during that time, I remember I'd take my collection, I'd dress up, and I'd go and say, can I meet the buyer, can I meet the owner, and I want to show my collection. And during this time, I met an awesome guy called Steve, and Steve loved my collection, and I got my first order after 1 month. And he placed an order of 30 scarves with me. And I remember I didn't know anything about business, and so he's like, can I have your invoice? You have to send me an invoice. And I tell Steve, what's an invoice? So he's like, you don't know an invoice? I said, no, I don't know anything. I don't know what an invoice is. And so he opens his file and he shows me what an invoice looks like. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is a bill. Because in 2000, I didn't know what it was an invoice. To my understanding, it was called a bill. So I'm like, yeah, I can get a bill done. So I go back to India, I fly back, I tell my mom I've got my first order for 30 scarves, and I get my import-export license done, I got my invoice done, and I got my name registered, and I had my first line of scarves in about 3 or 4 stores. There were chain stores across New York City in the first 3 months. And that was an exciting journey, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I decided to take a sabbatical because I wanted to grow my business more and I wanted to hone my skills more. So in 2004, I went to Nottingham Trent University, and I was an MA student there. And one of the good things for an MA student is the entire university is open to pretty much do whatever you want to do. So I remember going and looking at, I went so excited at this university, and I had the embroidery lab, I had the knitting lab, I had the photography studio, and I could do anything I wanted. And I was sitting there, I was sketching some of my designs on a table, and I was just sketching it out. And my HOD at the time, Brenda Sparks, comes up to me and tells me, Priya, if you sketch out something, you're always going to do something that you've already seen before, and your mind is going to do something. And if you innovate, you need to do something differently. And she got the dress form in front of me, and she said, you need to just do it. Stop thinking so much and just start creating something. And so I got this dress form in front of me, I put some fabric on it, and I decided at that point to let my hands create and let my mind then take notes. Innovate. And so I entered this beautiful lab that had all I wanted to do knitwear, and I'm not a knitwear designer. And so I entered this knitwear lab. I saw spools of beautiful yarns. I just took some yarns. I went to the technician and I said, can you put this yarn in the machine? And so he tells me, he said, Priya, you can't put this yarn. It's not made for this machine. And so I was like, but can we try it? And so I put this yarn in a machine. I landed up burning some yarns that are not meant to be burned. And I didn't know knitwear, so I broke a lot of the laws. And in that process, I landed up innovating something, and I innovated a beautiful line of scarves. And I came back to India, and there was a contest at the time by the British Council called India's Creative Future. And so I entered my line of scarves in this contest, and it won. My line of scarves won, and I won the title of India's Creative Future for a good business idea. And I remember at the time, the British Council had organized it, so they invited me to the UK to present this line of scarves. And so I'd gone to the UK, they had paid for it. I was there for a couple of days, and I was there for 3 days. And I remember I was staying at my friend's house, and I was sleeping, and I was like, Jesus, I said, who's going to wear my first scarf? Because my friends are like, you have to get celebrities to endorse your products, but that's how you're going to make a brand. So I'm thinking of it celebrity. And the next day I go for this event of the British Council, and the then Prime Minister was Mr. Tony Blair, and his wife Cherie Blair was at this event. And so her secretary was there. I took the secretary's card. I said, can I gift Mrs. Blair a scarf? I want her to wear one of my products. So I emailed the secretary, and I get an email back saying Mrs. Blair wants you to come down to 10 Downing Street. And I was so excited. I remember borrowing a jacket for my friend. I borrowed her boots. I got all dolled up. And I remember standing outside 10 Downing Street, ringing that Prime Minister's doorbell. And I was like, my family and my friends are not going to believe what's happening in 3 days. And I entered, I met Mrs. Blair. She wore my scarf. She bought also one of my scarves. And then the BBC covered it, BBC Radio, and I had all of this publicity. And I was so excited. And then I come back to India, and then reality hits me that I still need funding for any product, I came back, and then as an entrepreneur, there are always 3 things that you're going to need. You're going to need time to do something that you love. You're going to need money to make that product, and you're going to need a good team to build that product. And so I had these 3 things, and I didn't have a good team at that time because there was no social media in 2007, 2008. And so I had to put my scarves on a shelf. And but I also needed time. I needed time to do something that I love. And so it couldn't be a 9 to 5. And I wanted something that would give me money. And so I entered Bollywood because it pays well, and I could also creatively do something great. And during that process, when I was doing Bollywood, I became a celebrity stylist. I started doing shows, and then I met a lot of art directors. I met creative directers, the people who make items. And so during that time, I saw there was a dearth of visual merchandising, good visual merchandisers in the industry. And so with the help of these art directors and all of these technicians, I started a VM company, visual merchandising, which is like doing window displays for a lot of stores. And I did that, and I remember I did that for about 8 to 10 years. And after that, when I had to move out, I had my own office to rent out. So I landed up doing up my office space. I did the interiors, and one day this client comes in, and so he's like, can you do my office? So I did his office, and then I landed up doing someone else's office, and then I started my interior business. And I'm doing all of this, to fund something that I love more, which is my own accessory brand, which is That Gypsy. I started last year, and I'm doing so many other things. And I think it's just a journey, and you evolve as a person. And So I think right now, when they say be the jack of all and master of one, I think I'm the jack of all and master of none, and I think that's okay to be that. And my advice to every student out there who's going out, I'd say that give yourself grace. Just because you're going to go out the next year doesn't mean you have to have it all figured out. Give yourself time to evolve. I always tell all students that I go to colleges and talk to them. I always say you never know what you're good at until you really put your hands to it. I remember getting out of NIFT at the time, and at NIFT there were so many things. There was menswear, there was women's wear, there was kids wear, and I did women's wear, and it is just the dress could be long, it could be short, it can be a V-neck, it can be a cowl neck, and there are so many things, and too much choice overwhelms me. And so I evolved at accessories because it allowed my creativity to sort of be within some boundaries. And so I evolved as an accessory designer. But I allowed myself to do a lot of things, and then I gave myself the grace for a few years to just find myself in what I'm good at. And the other thing I'd like to tell all the entrepreneurs is, run your own race at your own pace. Try not to look at the one who's next to you and what they're doing. Try not to look at somebody else and how fast they're doing. And in today's world of social media, how many followers you have, and it can put a lot of pressure on you. I'd like to end by just saying, each one of you is like a mug that's trying to find its purpose. And you could do something, you have an idea and you want to put something and maybe it doesn't fit. And you try other things and maybe you do something and you find something that's really amazing and it works. And eventually you find something that's really, really amazing, and it's like water filling up in a mug. And it's going to fulfill you and you're going to really love it. And when you really find that fulfillment, someone's going to drink of it, And that's what entrepreneurship is, and that's what a good business idea is, that you're happy and someone else is happy drinking it also. That's when you find your purpose.